Hello and welcome to DeepRock. You're just in time because we're just about ready to start drilling a well with the Hydra drill. You'll see the drill in action, all of the features of the Hydra drill up close. So sit back, relax, and let's go drill the well.
That's Mike Vaughn. Mike is Vice President and General Manager of DeepRock Manufacturing Company, the home of the Hydra drill. My name is Rex Roach, and I'll be describing the action for you today while Mike does the actual drilling. You might like to know the Hydra drill was invented over 20 years ago by a geologist and well driller named Bob McIlvaine. And Bob knew that you didn't have to go more than 200 feet in over 90% of all locations in order to hit water. He learned that both from experience as a driller and from his knowledge and training as a geologist. And so he developed the Hydra drill, capable of drilling to depths down to 200 feet, which puts you within reach of 90% of the Earth's fresh water. And even though it is small, light, compact, and easy to move around, the Hydra drill does use the most modern of all drilling techniques, the rotary drilling method. The rotating bit plunges down into the earth, cuts away material. As the material is cut away, it is flushed back to the surface by the water injected under high pressure into the drilling system. The water returns to the surface and carries the cuttings with it, and thus the hole is cleaned out as you go. And this is the rotary drilling method. You may also be familiar with other older methods such as cable tool drilling, in which large weights are used to pound the bits down into the earth. But the Hydra drill uses the rotary method. Well, Mike has apparently finished drilling the first 5 feet, and we'll walk up a little closer here to see how it's going. Mike, how'd it go in the beginning there?
Very well. I've gone down the first 5 feet and I'm ready to put down the next section, so let me show you how I do it.
All right. What are you doing there at this point? What is that device?
This is the breakout ratchet here, and the breakout ratchet is an accessory that you can purchase. It makes it very easy to connect and disconnect drill stem sections. In order to add the next section, all I have to do is disconnect this one by putting my vice grips on the coupling of the drill stem.
Mm-hmm.
And I put this ratchet knob here on the breakout ratchet in that position, and just rotate it in this direction here. Now run this up a little higher so that I can add in the next section.
It's pretty important, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It really makes it easy.
Power mass makes it so that one man could do all the drilling alone. Well, what are you doing here now?
Well, I want to keep the threads of the equipment in good condition, so I'm adding a little grease to the thread of the swivel.
Anything special about that? Just
No, just
good old grease.
any sort of lubricant will do fine.
Well, it didn't seem to take very long altogether. How fast can you drill out here?
The experience so far has been about, well, I'm calculating that I'll be able to go 40 feet an hour.
And that would include time to change the drill stems and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
If I get tired, I'll go slower. Let the engine back down so I can reach it a
You
little
use the
easier.
power of the engine to thread everything up there, don't you? The circulating system for the Hydra drill begins as water in the pits is sucked up by the centrifugal pump and then forced through the small diameter hose under high pressure to the top of the drill stem. It enters into the top of the drill stem through the rotating power hydraulic swivel, which is the red object with the valve attached. It then travels down through the drill stem, down into the earth. The water then comes out through the bit, down in the earth, and flushes back to the surface, carrying the cuttings along with it. The cuttings are deposited in the pit. Power is supplied by a 2-cycle, 3-horsepower gasoline engine. The first bit used in the drilling sequence is the Earth Probe bit. Here you see it. It has a coating of tungsten carbide. It's used to cut a pilot hole of about 2 inches diameter. And after that pilot hole, you go back through with the reamer and enlarge the hole to accept screening casing. Should you hit rock along the way, use the 2-inch by 30-inch tungsten carbide rock core bit with its coating of tungsten carbide on the leading edge. Well, whatever your reason for drilling a well, there's nothing like the thrill of hitting water for the very first time. Here's what a lady well driller from Michigan told me on the phone the other day about her first experience.
Oh, this is absolutely exciting. I was out there just now. I think we've hit water. And this is just so darn exciting, I can't tell you.
I asked Mrs. Hinterman that since she was a lady operating by herself, why didn't she hire a commercial well driller to drill the well for her?
Oh, the expense. The expense, and of course the other thing is, what our garden is in a one, how can I describe it? We cleared away woods and put the garden right in the middle so that it is surrounded on 4 sides by woods.
Yeah.
There is no way that any kind of a drilling rig could get back in there. The portability of your equipment, it just absolutely filled the bill.
One of our customers from Oklahoma used to be a commercial driller, and he reflects on the portability of the Hydra drill.
It's so portable, you know, you can set it anywhere.
Right.
As a matter of fact, you can get in places that I couldn't get in before with any kind of rig, and a lot of people don't like their yard destroyed up, you know, with heavy equipment like that. Well, this eliminates that, you know.
That was Bill Harrington from out in Oklahoma. Chuck Anders is another customer, and he is a commercial airline pilot for Eastern Airlines, and he had some thoughts as to why commercial drillers tend to drill so deeply.
Well, you got to remember the people that drilled those 200 or 300 feet were the people that were in the well drilling business. They were doing it for a living, and they got a machine that's cost them a fortune, and they're getting so much a foot. So I think that's something a person's got to look at, and when they go out here, they want to make sure that they're getting an adequate supply, and they might hit a surface water above that rock that is capable of giving 10 to 15 gallons a minute or more, but they're not going to stop there because that's not where their money is. Their money is to go on down into that rock and get that extra money.
You sound like you might work for DeepRock.
No, I'm just saying that that's just common sense, I would say, to me.
Well, now what, Mike?
Well, you probably noticed a minute ago I was checking the cuttings, and I noticed that I was coming into a very sandy type formation. I'm a little concerned since I've drilled in this area before. I know that of course, the good thing is that's a good sign that I'm fixing to get into the water-bearing strata. But it's very important not to let that sandy formation collapse on your bit.
Mm-hmm.
So the way you keep that from happening, this product here is drilling gel concentrate, and you mix this white powder in with the drilling fluid there, and it makes the fluid thick like buttermilk.
It's a very important facet of drilling is circulation control. You don't want to ever lose your circulation. There you get an idea of how powerful that pump is, the 3-horsepower pump. You can see it puts out a tremendous spray of water. And this is why, one of the reasons why we recommend that you use this pump as opposed to connecting it up to city water. And secondly, by using the recirculating method here, you can add these drilling gel concentrates, whether they be the kind that just simply thicken the water or the kind which add clay into the water to more or less plaster up the sides of the hole to keep it all from caving in. You can feel it, you can tell, and just by sloshing your hands through the water, you can feel how much thicker it is once that's added. So now Mike will connect back up, and let's see, you're down about, what, 4 or 5 drill stems already?
Right. And my experience has shown with the other 2 wells that I have drilled in this area that I'm going to have to go down something around 60 to 70 feet to hit water.
Right. While Mike continues to drill, let me take this opportunity to tell you about our well drilling consultants. Should you have a question before you buy your equipment, just give us a call on our toll-free number. We'll be glad to help you out. Our consultants are all trained in every aspect of Hydra drilling. And if you need help in making your order and pricing information, shipping information, we can give that to you over the phone. And after you've bought your Hydra drill, of course, we're always right there to help you. Our consultants have all drilled many wells and have a great deal of experience and can answer all of your questions. In fact, I'd like for you to hear again Mary Hinterman as she tells about her experience when she called DeepRock.
But I did find talking with you people and following the instructions that came both with the materials and with the things that you had advertised, we had a pretty good idea of what we were doing. And then, of course, just to verify where we were, what I would do is I would pick up the phone or have one of the boys call and ask. But it was so simple, I can't believe it.
We've sold Hydra drills in all 50 of the United States and in 62 foreign countries, and we'd like to share our experiences with you. And if you should happen to catch one of our lady Hydra drillers when you call, don't hesitate to ask her your question, because they have experience with the Hydra drill too, and chances are she knows the answer to the question. Well, let's get back outside now and see how Mike's coming along. Well, what are you doing now, Mike? We've been gone a little while. Looks like you maybe accomplished something here.
Well, I've drilled down 62 feet. I bottomed out on solid rock, and I did drill through a very coarse sand formation, in fact about 22 feet of it. So I think I've got plenty of good water there.
Outstanding. Well, that's really good.
Now, I've only drilled my pilot hole so far, so right now the hole is just this big around.
Okay.
I've got to go back in with this 3.5-inch reamer.
Right.
So I've pulled out all but the last 2 sections of drill stem. I'm going to pull that out now, then add the reamer and widen the hole out, so it'll be ready for the screening casing.
Well, go ahead and we'll watch you while you're doing it. How difficult is it to pull this drill stem out?
Well, when I was down the deepest point, then as you can see here, I'm manually pulling it out. But when I was at the deepest point, I was just using the winch and the power mast to pull it out.
Yeah. So at the most you would have, what does this drill stem weigh, about a pound a foot, something like that?
Just barely over a pound a foot, right?
Yeah. So you had about 65, 70 pounds of drill stem. How long did it take you to drill that deep?
Oh, about hour and a half, I guess, down to the 62 feet.
Right. Sounds good. The drill stems seem to come apart pretty well. Is there any particular secret or something that we ought to know about there?
Definitely. The threads here on this end are tapered threads, but the threads on the coupling are straight, so that the combination of the two makes for a good watertight fitting, but not so tight that you can't break them apart with the vice grips.
So here's your
last one coming up.
Last one. Now, how did you know you would hit water? I guess maybe you said something about that, but
right. Well, I knew even from the start that I was looking for a sign of a water-bearing formation, a formation that could potentially contain a good volume of water. When I drilled through that 22 feet of good coarse sand with chunks of gravel in it, and then I bottomed out on top of the solid rock, then my experience tells me that I've hit a good formation, good water-bearing formation, so it's time to ream the hole and install the screening casing, put the pump on, and pump the water out.
You'll recall while Mike drilled earlier that periodically he checked the cuttings coming from the hole. He was looking for a coarse, gravelly formation which would indicate a good potential water-bearing strata. Let me take this opportunity now to talk about the possibility of drilling more than one well with the Hydra drill. If you're like most of our customers, that's just exactly what you'll do. And if you drill more than one, chances are you'll need some more supplies, such as screen and casing for the new wells. You might even need a spare part here and there. And if you do, we have a complete inventory of all spare parts for the Hydra drill, plus plenty of screen and casing which can be sent out on a moment's notice. We ship by UPS, and it usually takes only 3 days to deliver to any part of the country. Here's the main part of our warehouse, and you see a load of casing being prepared for shipment. We purchase all of our items by the thousands and maintain a large inventory at all times. Let's go back outside now, and Mike should be just about finished. Okay, Mike, looks like you've finished another segment here. What's your situation now?
Well, I've reamed out the hole down to that 62-foot depth, and that didn't take quite as long as it did to drill the initial pilot hole. Took me about an hour and 10 minutes. And now I'm pulling out the last section of drill stem and the bit, and I'm ready to install the screening casing.
While Mike finishes up, let me touch on some of the other possible uses of your groundwater system, such as water for a beautiful yard like this. Obviously, it doesn't come about without a lot of water. And many magazine articles these days are stressing the importance of our water, such as this one in New Shelter. Our city water systems aren't as clean as they once were. The city water systems, in some cases, cannot even get the contamination completely out of the water. And of course, with your own water well that you've drilled yourself with a Hydra drill, you avoid all of that. And you get the good, clean, pure groundwater that Mother Nature intended for you to have in the first place. A recent issue of Popular Mechanics had an article that featured a very exotic use of groundwater. It's used with a heat pump to heat and cool your home. It's entitled How to Tap the Energy in Your Backyard. And using a groundwater heat pump, water is circulated from a well through a rather typical heat pump with certain exceptions, and it makes a very, very efficient heating and cooling system. So there is our well.
That's right. It's been about an hour since I completed drilling. The water's gone down in the hole somewhat, and ready to install the screening casing now.
Can we hear that? Can we hear that water?
Oh, okay. Well, take a pebble here, and
Hey.
it's not very far down now, but I do have plenty of good water in there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it didn't go down because, as we said earlier, you put the drilling gel concentrate in that. Oh, what's this white thing here now? What is this?
Okay, this is the screen, and the first thing you do is take this plastic mesh plug or pad out and keep it on top of the ground.
Right.
And then make sure that when you put the screen in, you install this in first. Maybe you can see the pin that's located here, and I'll explain why you need that in a minute, but make sure it goes in first, and into the hole it goes. Mm-hmm. Notice we have plenty of annular space. In fact, you have to be careful that you don't lose it down the hole. Mm-hmm. Now we're ready for a little glue.
And that is a PVC cement.
That's right.
You're using, right? Okay.
First section of casing goes down. Give it a quarter turn until it'll lock up tight. Mm-hmm. Lower it into the hole. Next section of casing. First, some glue.
So you don't have to have a separate coupling with this casing here. You just use the bell ends.
That's right.
And yeah, it's real handy. I notice it kind of seems to bump. What are there, roots or something down there that it's
probably so
snagging on, this sort of thing? Yeah.
Sometimes if you, when you're installing your screen and casing, and if, say, the hole is slumped in a little bit, say halfway down,
yeah.
Instead of jamming it and running the risk of damaging the screen or casing, then just hook your pump back up, put the suction hose of the pump, or the pressure hose rather, of the pump down inside the casing, switch on the pump, and you can flush past the obstruction.
I see. And you just keep doing that until you get to the...
That's right. This one's 62 feet, as I think I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. And what about that empty space on the outside of it? What do you do?
I've got a can of pea gravel, and after I get my screen and casing completely in place, then I'll be pouring that pea gravel down around the outside of the screen and casing, and that'll serve as a filter to keep the sand and gravel out of the water will travel through that filter of gravel that I pour in the annular space.
Okay.
You remember a minute ago I showed you the plastic mesh plug. This is a second one. The first one I had put down inside here, inside the casing, and used my drill stem as a push rod to push it all the way to the bottom, down to that metal stop that you saw in the bottom of the screen earlier. Now I've hooked up a temporary pump here, and we're going to start the engine up and see if we can get some well water out. It will take just a minute for the pump to catch up because I haven't primed it that well. So let's see what happens. I started at 9 o'clock this morning, and took a couple of rest and lunch breaks, and so I figure I've spent about 3.5 hours drilling this well. In addition to the tremendous thrill I had when I hit water, I figure I've saved quite a bit of money too. You're going to really enjoy drilling your well with your Hydra drill. So sit back for a minute and review the film in your mind. A drill consultant will be in to answer any questions you might have. Thanks again for coming to see the film.